Does imagination matter? Hey, welcome to Your Seat at the Table. I'm Rick, and obviously they're not. I'm currently doing some videos. It's late Saturday. It's a late Sunday afternoon, which is a little bit unusual for me. Got a bit of a headache, I'm not going to lie, and it's been I've been stressed out, and on a number of levels. Not that nobody gives a damn, and I mean, I'm not saying that you guys don't care, but why should you care? And of course, I've been working my butt off trying to make up for being sick, and it's starting to get to my head, and I got even more stuff. I got another 52 hours scheduled for next week, and I'm already 5 hours into that. It's not even, it's Sunday. It is what it is. Anyway, does imagination matter? And how much does this really apply to us when it comes to role-playing in general? There's a lot of different fields and philosophies and feelings on this. And I'm talking to some pretty people I consider highly intelligent and highly knowledgeable, and tend to lean into whatever it is they say as thinking that, they got it spot on. And they went into some pretty technical terminology on it, which I am going to begin to try to repeat here, because I would not even come anywhere near it or close. So this is just some things out of my own head when it comes to my own personal experience as imagination. I have what some people consider active imagination. This causes me a lot of problems too once we talk about stress, and I cannot stop envisioning all the bad things that can go wrong, and I actually see them playing out in my bloody head, and it's hard to get away from that sometimes. And that's like jobs. So when I get working, I will sometimes get so engrossed in what I'm doing. It's because I'm just trying to avoid imagining how many things could go south. And part of that is something that we take for granted when it comes to sitting down at the tables. There are plenty of people, and you probably know them, and you may be one yourself, you can sit down at the player's table, use the system that's in front of you, whatever game system that's picked up and tossed in front of you, and you will be able to enjoy yourself, have fun, be engaged, maybe even find a little level of immersion, but you will just act out the mathematical character sheet that's in front of you and not really give much thought to what the character's doing, seeing, or experiencing on a personal level to yourself. This is how you this is part of that immersion thing that would then feed back out, or feed the imagination, which would then start this creative loop, in my opinion, right? So one of the considerations that we forget, I think, as adults, is that for some of us, we were all as children pretend it was a huge thing. We all learn to play, and a big part of play is pretend. To pretend to be something, or pretend to be in a place that you're not, or to be with people that are not there, or to have a conversation with somebody who's not there, because you're pretending that they are there, you're pretending that you did go here, that whatever. And so we are taught as we get older to put our childish things away, to stop pretending. And yet we still carry off all of our lives. We pretend to give a damn about somebody else's opinion. We pretend to, understand something when we don't, just to make things simpler, because we don't want to argue about it. We don't care, and we don't want to sound indifferent or arrogant or condescending by pointing out to the other person, look, no offense, I just don't give a shit. The truth is not always your friend. It's just not the way it goes. But many adults lose that childhood imagination, so it becomes a challenging thing. We also have issues with the real-world expectations getting in the way. What I mean by that is how many times have you hesitated to act, to perform, to pretend, to do something in character, because you don't want to be perceived as being a weirdo or creepy or touched in the head. That's all stuff that we get as adults when we say, look, it's not okay for 50-year-olds to run around in the backyard with fake swords and pretend and fake shields, screaming and howling and pretending to slay the big ugly dragon. And yet we call that LARPing as adults, and we find many creative ways to make it not sound like a childish pretend play session that we would have had when we were all 7 and 8 years old. The real world has a way of stunting people's imagination, or making them reluctant to engage in it, or to express the things that their imagination may want to do. And then there are people that, and I come back to this over and over again, in part because, like I've said, and I've said this in a couple of videos, and I expect I'll say it in some more videos. There are a current belief system in these 4 dimensions of role play or play. First dimension being mostly board games, so a lot of tabletop war games would fall in that category. Then when you get into the second dimension of play, and this is where people start to become invested in the characters. The characters start taking on meaning. We have more sophistication going on. This would still probably involve a lot of board game applications, because there's some people out there who believe any kind of miniature use whatsoever is a board game. You're enacting a 3-dimensional board game of some sort, and I'm not getting into arguments with how that plays out. And then we get into what I consider the most common form of role play, the third dimension. This is where we're into the characters. We're getting immersed in the moments, but on occasion we're being pulled back out for things like dice rolls and to question mechanics. Can my character do this? Should my character? Should I do it? It's a decision, but can I do it mechanically speaking, system-wise? I don't want to break the rules. Well, this moves beyond to the 4th dimension. The 4th dimension is where we put away as much of the mechanics and the out-of-character response. And in some ways, this becomes responding as character in character, which is a challenge for some people. And those who lack imagination really are at a disadvantage in that mindset, right? So players who never seem to use their, ever notice how some players never seem to use their imagination? I have had plenty of players sit down at the table, and they have fun. They are engaged. They engage in the table activities. They engage in the semi-role play, the level 2, level 3 stage stuff, and they sit there and yet can't fully seem to cross over. And part of it is because they absolutely cannot envision something. Their imagination simply cannot paint them a picture of what might be. And as a catch-all that I bring up, I did a video not too long ago showing actual photos. Like I said, if you've never been in, you talk about adventures, spending lots of time in caverns and caves. What happens when the torches run out? Well, unless you've actually been in a cavern or a cave and the lights go out with a bunch of people around you, you really do not understand just how detrimental that is to people who depend on sight. I have been there firsthand. I got pictures. I did a video recently because I bring it up so much. So my wife and I went on a tour at the Mark Twain Caves down in Missouri. This was on our honeymoon, and there was us and some school teachers and about 60 freaking fifth graders or 6th graders and their teachers. And so we're down in this damn cavern, and the tour guide goes, "Dark? You don't know how dark is until somebody turns out the lights or something." And she turned the damn lights out, and it became pitch black. So black, you could. This is why she insisted everybody sit down, nobody go get up, move around. She didn't want nobody getting hurt, because you would literally walk into something right next to you because you could not see it. There's no light whatsoever, and there's a different feel and a smell about being in these underground chambers that I can translate real easily into my imagination because of my experience. But there are people who struggle with that. If they have not experienced it, their imagination struggles with comprehending the possibility. So I think the role of imagination is vital in the pursuit of immersion and connectivity in the game. Is it vital from your, preventing you from playing the game? Absolutely not. You do not need to have an active imagination or any imagination to sit down and play a game. You just have to have a willingness and an open mind, at least to try, right? If you can't progress past that level, then so be it. Some people would not like that, and they would quietly encourage you to find somebody, find another table more to your liking or more to your speed, because you're now interfering with what they want to do. I find that a bit, sad. And okay, it's your table, their table, so be it, so on. We get back to that idea that imagination, I think, is, I don't want to say crucial, but it really, really matters, because in order for us to really fully immerse ourselves, we need to be able to see the scenario and the scene. It's one of these things we're pursuing. And I started to mention this earlier in the video, and then I got sidetracked, because I'll be 59 next month. September 20th, I'll be 59 years old, and that age is starting to take its toll. Anyhow, I just lost my train of thought, right? What the hell was I talking about? Yeah, I'm sure it was important too. God darn it, Jesus. Let's sit here and have a brain fart trying to remember why I just had a brain fart, right? Oh, Lord. Oh, I remember now. Why would I forget this? I am a big believer that you should pursue this hobby as deeply as you want to, that you should get as much enjoyment out of it you can, that you actively encourage other people to at least try to experience it, and to give them a positive experience. Few things sour somebody on something than having a bad experience the first time around and letting it fester. You can be involved in a sport and never play that sport before, and lose terribly at that first session, that first time you do it, but the people around you make it still enjoyable. You're going to want to come back, or you're more likely to come back and try again, and through experience become better at. The more you do, the better you get. That's also not rocket science. Pretty easy to think of. So I believe that full immersion is the fourth D of roleplay by today's, I guess, standards for some, is laudable. I absolutely believe that you can progress and be fluid, but not all of us can achieve that. My opening gambit to this video is an example of that. I tried to roleplay a character in first person, which I'm not comfortable doing in the first place, even partially scripted, and because of the lack of practice, I sound like I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Or, I'm just bumbling and stumbling and guessing and pulling at straws, which, in truth, is exactly what I was doing. I'm so rusty, it's not funny. But you know what? The imagination is still sharp as a frickin' movie.